Okay. Racism and sexism and transphobia and homophobia and biphobia and ableism as we know it today is like this conglomerate of cis hetero Eurocentric patriarchy, whatever this conglomerate word is. And it's all interlinked because every single time I talk about like one marginalization, something always relates to the other. And like there's no way to separate those, especially because there are people who belong to several groups. Hello, intersectionality. But like I almost sometimes can't think of things that don't somehow relate to another thing that another marginalized group faces that is peculiarly similar. They're just all interlocked as we know it today in most countries. Yeah. Like anything to do with gender automatically Serena Williams, all of the she's a cisgendered woman, all of the critique against her is trans misogynoiristic, even though she is not transgender. Everything is specific. So yeah, that specifically. So you have the misogynoir of how black women are not treated the same in terms of being a woman as white women and other races that are non-black. So they are othered. Actually, same with black men, are othered within the gender, their masculinity. If they are masculine, there are feminine men of all races. If they are masculine, their masculinity is treated differently than white male masculinity. And also black women's masculinity, if they are masculine, is treated different, and they are set on this expectation to be hyper feminine in a way that white women are not. Same with trans women, are put on a pedestal, not a pedestal, put on expected to be feminine more than cis women are expected to be feminine. What originally led me to all this separately, I knew that women were sexualized. Well, I knew that lesbians are sexualized. And from here on out, when I say sexualized, I mean in a bad way, because as just a plain word, sexualized could be positive. From here on out, I'm using sexualized in the negative manner. Lesbians are sexualized. Bisexual women are sexualized. And I never really thought about it. But gay men and bi men are also sexualized. Trans people, women, men, non-binary people are sexualized. And also everybody who's sexualized is also demonized at the same time, like, you want to have see lesbians have fake sex, but you don't want to see them get married and be with a woman for the rest of their lives. You want to see a woman kiss a woman, but you don't want her to leave your ass for a woman. You hypersexualize, maybe is the word I'm thinking of, gay men and blame them for being murdered due to their party life, which is victim blaming and slut shaming and etc. And then I'm like, oh right, it's all LGBTQ plus people. I mean, I learned the hard way so I knew of the stereotype, the incorrect stereotype, that gay men are pedophiles and that transgender women are pedophiles. Those things are not true. They are stereotypes that are false. Pedophiles are disgusting, vile people of all sexualities. I did not know. Actually, I should have remembered back. I did not know people thought lesbians were predators. I mean, now that I think about it, all of the things in media in life are like coming to me in waves and flashes of like, oh, I have noticed that. But I didn't know that until I started teaching at a daycare, and I had parents making up actual bullshit about me, lies, because I'm gay and they didn't want me around their children. And I'm like, why? And then I also started remembering, like, of all of my life, even childhood, of like, why did people hate me for no fucking reason? And I could never put my finger on it. And now I think it's a mix between being lesbian, gender nonconforming, and probably also the ADHD that differed me from some other children. Okay, so I'm like, oh, right, so LGBTQ people, and then don't forget the bullshit trans laws, that bathroom laws that are just because people think that trans women are men going into women's bathrooms when they are not. They're just women trying to fucking piss. And then I remembered that black men and all men of color are also sexualized, at least in the United States. You will have, I met this girl, and she's white, and her husband was black. Fine, all good, all dandy. Didn't think anything of it until she started speaking. She's like, yeah, so she was my, at the time, fiance's friend from high school, who she hasn't seen since high school. And, she's like, yeah, I've always liked black guys. And I'm like, so it's like, you can date outside your race. Please do, because white people who only want to date white people are racist. But here's the thing. When people think that, okay, let me back the fuck up. Saying you specifically like, okay, basically, it was just really weird how it's like she was fetishizing. That's what I mean. I don't mean sexualizing. I mean, I do, but, fetishizing. She fetishized gay men. Whoa. Back it up. Black men. She fetishized them. Or does. Because she was like, oh, like, I've always liked black guys. Like, okay, you can be racist and date outside your race. Just like a lot of men are sexist, but they're straight and date women. Because, surprise, just because you're dating somebody doesn't mean you respect them. I mean, that should be surprising because that's really gross that people date people who they don't respect and, like, look down upon their partner. That's a whole problem within itself. Yeah, anyway. And you know what I noticed, too? She had 2 little 2-year-old boys, or kids. She, like, shaved their heads. And I'm like, I wonder if it's because she hasn't, she had biological children with her husband. I'm like, I bet you it's because she hasn't cared to try to put the effort into learning how to style and do black hair. Is that why you shave both your kids' head? It could not be, but I actually almost swear she said something about, oh yeah, their hair was just imaginable. I might be wrong. Maybe I just thought that. I don't remember, but I'm like, I mean, of course, if you shave your kid's head, that doesn't mean that that's true, but I'm like, is that why you shave their head? Because you don't care to learn how to style your own children's hair? Anyway, to quote a video I saw recently, Black people are treated as a sexuality. I remember this white guy in high school who he fetishized Asian women, which is common in this country, unfortunately, but I never really saw it in person, and I don't even think I knew that at the age I was about all that. But he was like, he was just like, ooh, yeah, I like Asian girls. Basically, if a white person's like, I like blank people, it's fucking weird. Because it's like, now you're just making it weird. Because you need to like the person for, it's just like, that's not respecting. People do that with, people also do that with trans people. What do they call it? Chasers. Oh, that's also with larger people. Yeah, it'll be like these marginalized groups. Oh my gosh. Straight men do that to bi women as well. My point of all this is that I realized that anybody who isn't a cis, white, straight man is sexualized in some manner. And then I'm like, okay, so that sexualization is not all of, and by that I mean fetishizing, that negative sexualization in the conglomerate of white supremacist cisheteropatriarchy. Sexualization, dehumanization, and objectification are this important to trifecta to any marginalized person within the white supremacist cisheteropatriarchy. That is a key to everybody who is affected either by their gender, meaning if you're either a woman and or lesbian, gay, bi, trans, non-binary, etc. So, experience gender marginalization. No, marginalization based upon your gender. I'm also high on an edible, so sorry for the pauses, and I don't want to edit this. And people of color was the other thought. All the people that, and intersex people, because it's based on sex. So, okay. Marginalization based on your sex, your gender, or your race are all connected. And then not exactly always connected, but then there's another bubble of ableism and classism that I think also go together. And I don't know if that's all under one umbrella or there's just a lot of overlap between the two. Because racism and classism can go together a lot. Also, did you know that that also goes with misogyny, because pay gap, etc. And ableism goes with classism, vice versa. So maybe there is a larger umbrella. But there are some things with ableism that I don't think necessarily fall under like the big umbrella I'm talking about, because there's other forms of marginalization. Quite honestly, a lot fit in here. Because there would be, I would try to think of a word of like this expectation of the gender binary will cross over like the same exact idea of like an intersex person and a trans person and like women of color, and they could not be a part of each other's groups at all. And this expectation of hairless skin, and women, all women, of hairless skin, slender noses, hairless bodies, slender skin? Whoa. Of being skinny, hairless, and have these European noses. No, I'm not pointing to my nose, because my nose is not the standard European, or at least the a certain region of Europe, maybe. My nose is not, so I'm just pointing to the nose because I'm saying nose. All of these things affect all of these different groups that could not be a part of each other. But it's like this expectation to conform to what it means to be a woman, or what have you, or even it has these things that affect like all of these different groups, even if they aren't a part of each other, but they experience this very particular type of genderism that like are almost identical, which is why I connect cis-heteropatriarchy, white cis-heteropatriarchy, as a conglomerate word, because those things are like unlockable, baby. Like you can't go into one without going into another, especially because some people are a part of all of those groups. Intersectionality, Kimberly Crenshaw, etc., etc. Learn about it in her words, not from me. Listen to a scholar, not some white 25-year-old who is high in their apartment. I mean, I do fall under some intersectional things, such as being gay and facing misogyny. But intersectionality is at its core about the intersection of race and womanhood. But as I said, everything's connected, baby. There's like everything's connected in like the Zen positive way. This is everything's connected in like a this is bad hell world kind of way. The negative version of that, not like the one that you're like high and you're like, we are one. Ooh, you know what pisses me off? white people, end of sentence. No. White people who are like, we are one race, the human race. We are the same. Okay, we are the same, and we are all like, should be equal, but they say it in a way to then denounce racism, because they're like, I can appropriate your culture because we're all a part of the same entity. Or like, racism doesn't exist because we are the same. So it's like, you think that the like, oh, we're all humans would like extend into having some kind of sympathy for people who experience racism, because like, yeah, we're probably all one. I don't know, the universe is really fucking weird and confusing, and if I think about it too much, I get queasy. But like, that should lead you to then like understand that people, it's like, people have different life experiences, even if we're all one entity, just I don't know, reincarnating into the infinite. Like, we still are all experiencing these little individual lives very differently, and we should still treat each other well, and you can't just like, and also, I don't know if that's all true, so it's like, you can't just like, to me, it doesn't make sense how those would connect. I don't see color. It's like, okay, well, racists see color and then they hurt people, and you see that happening. You don't see who's doing which part. Does that make sense? Yeah. Anyway, it all connects, dude. And I need like a specific word for it. Oh, and of course, yeah, with like, okay, for example, the colonialization of India during the British Raj. Beforehand, India celebrated, not tolerated, celebrated, you know, variants of gender and same-sex attraction, and they had gods with who had breasts and you know, a penis, and they had same-sex gods that were worshipped in Hinduism specifically, and then those were, I did a report on this in freshman year of college. I'm not just like conspiracying it up. I didn't just read this on like a TikTok or something. I'm talking about, I like did this as a history major when I was in college. Anyway, I do hate people. I don't like, even if it's like a topic that I care about, I do dislike when people get all like conspiracy and like, I don't know, just quote something that they heard or whatever. Like, I'm talking about things that are real. Anyway, got a little anyway, and then the British colonists like burned the scripts, and they like got rid of all of these monuments that would be, as we know today, LGBTQ plus people, and within a generation, homophobia and transphobia was installed into the society, because of this one small country had these ideas. And then within a generation, because you teach that to one generation of kids, the grandparents die, boom, now everybody thinks it. And that's when they legalized, when they made same-sex, either acts or marriage or something, they made it illegal 3 years after the British Raj. That's an actual fact that I had in my presentation. Anyway, it's all connected, baby. It's It's about sex, baby. And anyway, it's like specifically the gender binary and racism are like this, baby. That's why TERFism is a proven gateway to neo-fascism and the alt-right. Because you have these trans exclusionary radical feminists, or I think it's better to just call them transphobic radical feminists. Transphobic radical feminists have the same talking points and dog whistles as bioessentialists and Nazis and white supremacists. It's no wonder why. It's because transphobia, especially transmisogyny, is rooted in racism. So yeah. It's all connected, man. Anyway, I should clean my